Okay, so everyone, welcome back to Kol Kol Shira in partnership with Breslov.org and, of course, Yeshiva Torah Shemin. And I'm sorry I wasn't around the past 2 weeks, but I was on my journey trying to get back to Eretz Yisrael. And I have to tell you, fellas, that I read the stories of, the Baal Shem Tov trying to get to Eretz Yisrael and Rabbi Nachman and many other tzaddikim and their journeys and how difficult they were. And I always understood the difficulty, but I never really appreciated it. I never really appreciated what does it mean that you can't get there. So because I never had such a situation, right? The way modern travel is, you buy your ticket and you go. You have to come up with the money, of course, okay, but you can go. But here, no matter how much money you had, you weren't. The airport was closed, and so on. But Baruch Hashem, so we made it back. We went through Rome, and then we were in Vienna, and we went to Budapest, and Baruch Hashem, I stopped at Kivrei Tzadikim on the way. It was very, very nice, and Baruch Hashem, and we're back. And it's so good to be back in Eretz Yisrael. Okay. So we have now this week's Parsha. We have our friend, I say that facetiously, Balak, right? Balak, and Pirkei Avos speaks about that. Are you a Talmud of Avraham Avinu, or are you a Talmud of Bilam, right? Bilam of Avraham Avinu, right? We hope to be the Talmidim of Avraham Avinu, right? So we have in the Parsha so many things. We'll talk a little bit outside, and we'll see something inside. Okay. So we start off the Parsha. We talk about Balak, right? We don't mention at all that he's a king, right? It's only in the 4th pasuk does it say that Balak who Melech Maya Be'esahi. Okay. Why was he only introduced as the Melech after the and not in the first pasuk? Why is that? There's many explanations. The one I like, the one I've seen and I really I could relate to is like this: that really Balak was a very he was a sorcerer, right? He was a machashev. He was a sorcerer, but he had no royalty. He had no royalty of his own. He had no royalty and nothing of his own. But what happened was they saw what happened to the Amorim, right? And they saw what happened, and they were a little bit nervous. And it was only Balak that came up with the idea that you're not going to be able to you're not going to be able to get to accomplish to win a war with Klal Yisrael with conventional warfare. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. He came up with that idea, and he said that really the koyach was with the dibur, with the words. And therefore, we have to get somebody that can counter their words. And who was that? That was Bilam. Now, Bilam was a prophet, which is hard to understand how a person that was such an immoral person, how he was able to be a prophet, how Hashem came to him in his dreams. Such an immoral person, but yet Hashem did. Chazal speak about it, and they say, why did we have to have a person like Bilam? Because this way the Umas Ha'olam won't have a piskin peh. They wouldn't have a way to turn to say, hey, only if we would have had a prophet. So then we would have done the right thing. Like the Jews had prophets, even though with our prophets we hardly ever listened to them, and so we had so much trouble. But okay. But now They have their prophet, and look what their prophet did. Look what their prophets did. Okay. So he sends. So we know that Balak sends off messengers to Bilam, and they get there, and they had their witchcraft with them, their sorcery equipment with them, and they came to Bilam, and they said to Bilam that Balak wants you to come with and curse the Jewish people, and Bilam said, well, you have to stay here tonight, and I have to see what Hashem is going to tell me. Seems very nice, right? Seems very, very nice that this man, this immoral person, is going to listen and wait to hear what Hashem tells him. It's amazing. Hashem says to him, don't go. Don't go. Balak sends more important people with lots of riches and a lot of gold and silver and jewels. And he says again, I have to see what Hashem says. The second time Hashem says he can go. It's very, very interesting. The way you can understand is like this. When somebody does something and they do it with all their with their full intent, their full intention. What I mean by is that they're doing it from what they believe in their heart wholeheartedly. That can be dangerous. But if there's an ulterior motive in with what they're doing, it's not going to be it's not as potent, it's not as dangerous. The first time they came, Bilam felt the same hatred to Klal Yisrael as Balak felt, and he wanted to do this under his own volition. There Hashem says to him, you can't go. However, the second time, when it was dependent on him making a lot of money, money! So you're doing it for money. Hashem says, now you can go. Because now it's not going to be as potent. All right. So Bilam goes along. And despite Balak's intentions, Bilam winds up giving brachas, right? We have the story with the donkey, right? Bilam's donkey. The famous section in the Parshah where Bilam has his donkey, and his donkey is talking to him. Could you believe that? HaKadosh Baruch Hu opened up the mouth of the donkey. The donkey was talking to Bilam and giving him rebuke. The donkey was giving him Musa. Fascinating. The donkey's giving him Musa. And he strikes his donkey 3 times. Right? The Medrash says that the donkey was going off this way and going that way and going this way. But we know that the Torah actually tells us where there was a malach standing with his sword outstretched that Bilam didn't see, but the donkey saw. Bilam didn't see, but the donkey saw. And Bilam hits the donkey 3 times, and the donkey says, why did you hit me, Shalosh Regalim? Interesting lashon that he used Shalosh Regalim. Why Shalosh Regalim? Why did he use that thing? Why wasn't he Makami Shalosh Pa'amim? Why was it Regalim? Much is spoken about that. Rashi says that so long as Klal Yisrael is going to be Chayugim, they're going to have the Chagim, and we're going to go to the Beis HaMikdash, and we're going to keep the holidays, you're not going to be able to touch them. And the donkey was telling him that. You're not going to be able to touch them. What are you wasting your time? And when the donkey was talking to him, he was so embarrassed. He was so embarrassed because all the officers that Balak sent along with him now were traveling back with him. And they all heard what the donkey had to say. And the donkey was telling him, hey, am I not there for you all the time and doing what you want me to do? He was even sleeping with his donkey. Mom is such an immoral person like no one else. He was very embarrassed. Like he should have been. Then it says that Bilam went after this, and despite what Balak's intentions were, Bilam winds up giving us brachas. Winds up giving us brachas instead of cursing. He proclaims Hashem's favor and protection over them. And Bilam, his prophecy was actually highlighting the uniqueness and the greatness of the Jewish people. Fascinating. And then in the Parsha goes on, when he sees that he wasn't successful. So he tells Balak, you could send the Moabite ladies, send the princesses. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't like immorality. Who knew better than that than Bilam, right? The most immoral person, right? So he tells him, send the ladies, and then you'll be able to. Then we'll be able to take care. You'll be able to take care of them. Torah says that we stayed in Shittim, the place called Shittim, and while we were there, the Moabite ladies came, and unfortunately, we succumbed to them. And it said that Chazal tell us that what happened was that as bad as the immorality was, the Moabite ladies had little idols, and they made the Jew bow down to the idol. So now, not only was it the Gili Arayis, wasn't he doing things, immorals, nus, whatever he was doing, but he was also doing Avodah Zarah. Also Avodah Zarah. Terrible, mamish terrible. And then at the end of the parsha, we know Pinchas comes after Moshe Rabbeinu, after Zimri and Cosby were having relations in public, none other than in front of Moshe Rabbeinu. In front of Moshe Rabbeinu. And Moshe Rabbeinu didn't know what to do. He was so baffled by this. He was so baffled by what he was seeing. He couldn't understand, what is this? How are they doing this? What is this? But Pinchas remembered. Kanoim paigim by. Kanoim. Pinchas was a kanoi. Pinchas wound up taking a spear and he stuck it through Zimri and Cosby. And that ended the Magefa that 24,000 people died at. 24,000 people died because of this wicked Balak and the wicked Bilam. It's amazing. Mamish amazing. Zimri ben Salu. Who was Zimri ben Salu? Zimri ben Salu was the president. He was the Nasi of Shevet Shimon. And Pinchas was the son of Elazar, took the action, and he wound up killing in Cosby and Zimri. Now the question was, Pinchas was not a Kohen. Why? Because only those that were born when the kahuna took after the kahuna took place, those were Kahanim. But Pinchas was already born. So in other words, if Elazar would have had another son after he became the Kohen, that son would have been a Kohen. But Pinchas was already there, and it didn't extend to him. But we know he becomes the Kohen. So this is the ideas in general of the Parsha outside to understand. There's so much we could speak about with this Parsha, but the most important thing I think we could speak about is how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always protecting us. How HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always behind the scenes. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always protecting Klal Yisrael. If the Torah didn't tell us this story, if the Torah did not reveal to us this story that took place with Balak and Bilam, and the 42 sacrifices that he made, and the 7 different altars that he set up, and the times that he tried to curse us, we would have no idea. We would have no idea. And I truly believe HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us this story because there's so many more. We have so many enemies against the Klal Yisrael. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always taking care of them for us. He always works for us. He's always helping us. He loves us. But he showed it to us in the Torah. I'm showing you a case here where this was the most dangerous. Chazal tell us this was the most dangerous situation that Klal Yisrael was ever in. We were at the brink. We could have been at the brink of annihilation. Why? Because Bilam knew that split second, each day, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has an anger. He knew it. It's amazing that he knew that, but he knew that. And if Bilam would have said a curse, like Kolei, to destroy us, at that split second, we would have been destroyed. But Moshe Rabbeinu davened to HaKadosh Baruch Hu before this to please protect us. Daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please protect Klal Yisrael. Rav Nassan explains this in Likutei Halachos. He davened to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to please protect Klal Yisrael. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't get angry those days. Those days that Bilam was lurking around the Amcha Beis Yisrael in the desert. He was lurking around. Hashem didn't get angry. So therefore he couldn't affect his curse. It's amazing. Mamish amazing to understand what's going on. The inner side stories of the story itself. Many ask the question, if we had the Anani HaKavod, we know we had the Anani HaKavod, right? How was he able to look into Klal Yisrael? How was he able to see how our tents were set up? If we were totally covered by the Anani HaKavod, how was he able to see? I saw beautiful pshat, something so beautiful, that this time was the time of Sukkot. The time of Sukkot. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu took the clouds away from the top so that way our Sukkot could be underneath the sky. Not under the clouds. Under the sky. The cloud would have been, so to say, a chatzitza. If you have a cloud, you don't have the sun. So you have your sukkah, you have to have the tzelaisa meruba mechamasa, right? But you have to have the chamasa, you have to have the sun. If you had the Anani HaKavod, there's no sun. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu lifted the Anani HaKavod. He kept it on the sides. And that's why you see that Bilam goes on the mountains. Bilam is going on the mountains, high on the mountains. Because he couldn't see in. He could only see into Klal Yisrael through the mountains. He couldn't see in because of the Anani HaKavod. It's fascinating to understand it. We had the clouds of glory that was surrounding us, that was protecting us. He couldn't get in. He wanted to, but he couldn't. But he went on the mountains and he tried. And he tried and he tried. But we were keeping the Chag. And that's why the donkey said Shalosh Regalim. We were in the middle of the Shalosh Regalim. We were in the middle of the Yom Tov of Sukkot. Amazing. Mamash amazing to understand the beauty that's really behind the Parsha. Mamash, the beauty that's there. It's something so special. It's something so special for us to understand that. And these are some of the ideas that I have. Do you have any questions? Anyone have any questions? Anyone want to add anything? Yehuda, did you want to say anything? No? Okay. All right. All right, so let's look at something inside. Here from Rav Nassan. Something so beautiful. And it's a very, very nice piece. It's not too long. And hopefully we'll have enough time. And we'll see if now we have more material. Don't worry. V'hinei beirachta vorech. And behold, what I bless will be blessed. Beirachta vorech. Be blessed. Bevadei Hashem Yisbarach oisek b'tikun ha'olam tamid. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always working. He's always working on making tikkun ha'olam. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always working to make repairs to this world. Hashem always wants everything to be better in this world. Hashem wants everything to be better in this world. He's always working on tikkun ha'olam. Rav Kook and others speak about it, that really, even though sometimes we see things and the things that we see, it seems so difficult and we don't understand them. But the tzaddikim always tell us that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is guiding the world to its final, for its perfection. To mamish to the perfection. To come to its ultimate perfection. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Isaac b'tikun olam tamid. B'vadei hu goymet tamid v'yigma hakol b'ritzoynai. Certainly HaKadosh Baruch Hu does everything and He fulfills everything certainly the way exactly He wants it. V'afilu mishu rasha u'ba'al aveiros chas v'shalom. And if you have a rasha, or you have someone that's a Bala Averis, person that's involved in wrong things that go against the Torah. Here, this is very fascinating. He's not doing anything. He's not changing any metzias at all with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Nothing changes. Hashem is always Hashem. We say in the Yud Gimel Midas Arachim Hashem. Why do we say Hashem 2 times? Why is it Hashem? Why? Because the same Yud Kei Vav Kei, the same HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is Yud Kei Vav Kei before a sin, and is the same Yud Kei Vav Kei after a sin. It makes no difference. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't change. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always perfect. The Rosh does his Averis. Apal pichein einoi oisel Hashem Yisbarach klal. Bechina shiches loy. Whatever you're going to do, it's not going to cause any change to Hashem. K'may shekosav imchatosa ma tifol loy. Ki Hashem Yisbarach ma'oid omku machshavoisa. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is so much deeper than our thoughts. When we have Rosh Chodesh, we say Machshavosei lo yike machshavosechem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, my thoughts are different than your thoughts. V'yodea lahafoich hakol l'chvoida u'le'tzoyneh. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows how to change everything, to flip everything around for His glory, for His ratzon. Ki ata maram li'olam Hashem. Ki ata maram li'olam Hashem. Ki ata, because you are Kadosh Baruch Hu, maram li'olam Hashem. You are always Hashem. Yud Kei Vav Kei, and you know it doesn't change. Rashi li'olam yodcha ala yoyna. Look at what Rashi says. HaKadosh Baruch Hu always has the upper hand. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is what we know when we have the Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei. When you say the Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei, you have to have two things in mind. One is HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Adon Kol. He is the only master, and also Haya Hay V'Viyah. Every time you say Yud Kei Vav Kei, you're supposed to have that in mind. Those two ideas. Adon HaKol, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Adon HaKol, and his HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Haya Hay V'Viyah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is past, present, and future. All in one. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is one. V'af al pi chen yishalem Hashem lo yisa ra b'ra'asai. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will certainly pay back the wicked ones for their wickedness. We hope to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu pay back all the Rishoyim today. That monster Khomeini, mamash, a diabolical monster. HaKadosh Baruch Hu should show, and who's more wicked than that person today? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take care of it. Ki af al pi chen, also lo na'aseh shum davar kineged haTorah. So you'll think for a second, wait a second. We just said, Rav Nosson saying, hey, whatever I do, nothing changes for Hashem. So that means I can do what I want. No. We're not allowed to do anything against the Torah, chas v'shalom. Omi shepaygim ezed davar kineged haTorah, hu paygim chas v'shalom b'chol ha'ilamos u'machriv u'mekalkel harbe. See, some things we don't know. We don't realize this. But we are connected down here, and we're also connected up on high. And everything we do down here affects everything on high. People think I'm here, in my house. I'm doing whatever, no one knows. I can do what I want. No. How can a person ever think they're by themselves when they have a neshama? Can I ask you a question? If a person has a neshama, and we know and we believe with all our hearts that the neshama is a chelik elikom imal, it's a piece of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then how can I ever be alone without anybody with me? A Jew is never alone. You always have HaKadosh Baruch Hu with you. As long as you have your neshama. So long as a Jew is alive, he always has Hashem with him. So comforting, so beautiful to understand that. So when we do something, we're changing things in all worlds. We affect all the different worlds. Unbelievable. And he causes a lot of destruction, a lot of damage. So yes, it makes a difference. Did I daven? Did I put on my tefillin today? Did I wear my tzitzis today? It makes a difference what I looked at. It makes a difference what I ate today. Of course it makes a difference. Because you're connected, we are connected in this world and connected up on high at the same time. And everything we do good affects the world in a good way. and everything we do that's wrong, we cause damage. Kamuva b'svarim. Hashem always finishes everything the way He wants it. This is something that's almost impossible for us to understand. This is something that's perplexing. It's something perplexing. How can we understand this? Hashem is doing everything by Himself. So wait a minute. If I have Bechira, free choice, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu has everything set up in the world in that way, that we can choose right from wrong. Bechira. We have free choice to choose. So if I have the choice to choose, so then how is Hashem controlling it? The answer is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu already knows what you're going to choose. So if HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what I'm going to choose, then I really choose. And that's what my Rebbe, Moshe Weinberger, Zalzayin Gesundten Stark, he would always say. He always says, Bechira is overrated. It's overrated. Bechira is overrated. Unbelievable. How can I understand this concept that if I have free will, free choice, so then how it's Hashem? But it's Hashem, but I have free choice. I don't understand that. And therefore there's many times, unfortunately, we make mistakes and we do things against Hashem when we do something the Torah tells us not to do. But Hashem will complete it the way He wants it. Here's the example. Person does an Aveira, certainly so, he will get punished for it. No question. No question. As we see this in many places. Paroi was very wicked to Klal Yisrael, right? Paroi did a lot of terrible things to Klal Yisrael. But in the end, Paroi got his. How about Sancheriv and his armies? How about Haman? Purim. Was there anyone more wicked than Haman at the time? No. Isn't it interesting that Haman lived in the same place as that guy Khomeini lives today? Right? In Iran. Interesting. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu punished them. V'chein kol ha'me'ikim u'metzeirim liYisrael. Anyone that's causing us any kind of pain, anyone that's causing us any kind of trouble. So that means all these countries today, the whole UN, all they're out there to do is to cause us trouble. They want to make Klal Yisrael trouble. That's all they're out to do. Sheikh Bidu Libam, HaKadosh Baruch Hu hardened their hearts. V'achakach nisgadol v'niskadesh v'nisparsei shem shemayim ayidei zeh daika. But through that thing that they did, through what Paroi did, through what Sancheriv did, through what Haman did, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name was made great in the world. We see Yisro. Yisro came, he saw what we did to Mitzrayim. He saw Kriyas Yamsuf. He saw these great miracles. The whole world knew. The covenant of Hashem was raised up tremendously through them doing what they did. had they not have done what they did, which on the surface it looked terrible, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name would have been made greater in the world. And in the end, HaKadosh Baruch Hu works out that the Rishayim will be blotted out. They'll be lost. And after, this is the same way it happened with this guy Bilam, this diabolical monster at that time, that wanted to destroy Klal Yisrael. Even though he was going and he tried to cause kilkul, destruction, but again, Hashem finishes the story the way Hashem wants the story finished. The Kibli Yisrael brachas harbe al yodei daika, and we got a lot of blessings from this guy Bilam. Specifically, the one we say every morning, "Ma'toivu oilecha Yaakov, mishkan eisecha Yisrael, ani b'roiv chazdecha avay veisecha, shtachav el heichel kadshecha b'yosecha." These beautiful words. Who said them? Bilam. Bilam. V'afal pichein hu nenesh harbe. Oh, he got punished. V'yolev achrisai adei oived. And in the end, he's totally blotted out. V'chein misnayek Hashem yisbarach tamid. So too Hashem does this all the time. V'chein hu b'chol adam kaniska le'el. And certainly, with every person, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing this all the time. It's something so beautiful to understand. How HaKadosh Baruch Hu lets someone do what they want, and they think they're doing what they want. But in the end, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has the upper hand, like Rashi says, Li'olam yotcha el aliyayna. HaKadosh Baruch Hu always has the upper hand. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will always win, as we see in this story. It's amazing. It's really, truly amazing how we have our enemies in Klal Yisrael against us. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there behind the scenes taking care of us. He's there behind the scenes. I mean, look, in the last 2 weeks with that 12-day war with Iran, they sent all those rockets. And these were no simple rockets. These were no simple rockets at all. These were rockets that had multiple warheads on each rocket. And unfortunately, some of the rockets had a direct hit, as we saw. But it's remarkable to see how everybody that was fulfilling the mitzvah of Ushmartem es nafshei seichem, fulfilling the mitzvah of watching their lives, and they went into their safe room, their mamad, their miklat. They went into that room and they closed their doors the way they were supposed to. Even those buildings that we saw, the whole building collapsed except for the section that had the mamad. And they were able to rescue all those people. How 28 people we lost, chas v'sholom, Hashem yinkum damam, mamash. 28 people we lost. But the 28 people that we lost were people that didn't do what they were supposed to do. They were not in their mamad. They were people that thought that they could do what they want. They may have been the guys out there videoing the rockets. Who knows? I don't know. I leave it up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But it's beautiful to see that anybody that believes in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and anyone has emunah in Hashem, And this is what we have to do. We have to mamish be maminim today. The miracles that took place in the past few weeks were greater miracles than we ever had. Greater miracles. Perhaps they were even greater miracles than it happened in Yetzias Mitzrayim. How we were able to send 50 planes at a time to Iran. These planes had to be refueled in midair because these F-35s, they're small planes. They can't travel 1,200 kilometers. So they had to refuel these planes in middle of in Syria in order to be able to get to Iran. How HaKadosh Baruch Hu set up this idea that with the Russians, that the Russians are going to attack the Ukrainians 4 years ago. 4 years ago. And then the Russians are going to need more soldiers. So they took their soldiers that they had in Syria and they brought them back. They brought them back. They brought them back to Russia. How HaKadosh Baruch Hu had Syria fall. So that way the airspace will be open. The airspace will be open with no air defense systems, nothing. They're about to fly straight over Syria. That was not possible. This was being arranged by HaKadosh Baruch Hu so much in advance. Now we're only beginning to see how everything, all the pieces fits together. But to understand how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there mamish. And Putin thinks he's doing this, and this guy thinks he's doing that. And Zelensky thinks that they're all thinking. But really, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has the upper hand. It's all HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And how beautiful it is to see that in this week's Parsha with Balak. Where Bilam was trying to destroy us, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu let us see. He explained this, he gave us a Parsha in the Torah. And that's why perhaps the Parsha is called Balak. Why Balak? Why Balak? To show you that Hashem loves us. Hey, I want you to remember, Kindler. I want you to remember I love you. Look how I was taking care of you over here when you had no idea this was going on. We never have any idea. We never have an idea. It's all Me'ez Hashem. Everything is Me'ez Hashem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is taking care of everything behind the scenes all the time. And let no one ever believe, Chas v'Sholem, no one ever believe, Chas v'Sholem, that they're running anything. And I was so impressed to see how our Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, he got up on TV right when this thing was going on with Iran, and he said, it's all Se'ata D'Shmaya Me'akadosh Baruch Hu. This is the first time that any government official of the state of Israel mentioned HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Siyata D'Shmaya. Fascinating. And you know what's more fascinating? He didn't get any flack from the left, from the other, from his group. Why are you talking about Hashem? Before we attacked Iran, Bibi Netanyahu, he got in his car with his entourage and he went to the Kaisel. And he put the petek into the wall. You see, things are changing. Things are mamish changing. There are things happening in the world today that are unexplainable. It's only through our emunah. And the more emunah we have, is what's going to bring Mashiach Tzidkenu. The emunah is going to bring us Mashiach. Believing in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Listen, we could talk more, but I think we got the message. We understand this idea, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always behind the scenes, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is always doing everything exactly the way He wants it done. Nobody does anything. And yes, there's Bechira. But let us never believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not behind everything. He's not behind the way the person will make that decision. Yes, you have free choice. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows exactly what's going to happen. And He sets up all the parameters. And He sets up everything to go exactly that way, how He wants it to be completed. You would ask the question, how come He allowed Haman to do what he did? He allowed him to do what he did. But look at the great miracle that came about through Haman. How do you allow Parah to do what he did? Look at the miracle that happened through Parah. Look at Sancherib. How his army was killed, the whole army, unbelievable. The crazy things, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu does everything for us. Listen, we'll stop here. I want to wish everyone a beautiful Shabbos. And it's a Shabbos we should think. It should be mamash a Shabbos with Simcha. And we know that Sunday is going to be Shavasa B'Tamuz. Shavasa B'Tamuz is a very, very serious day. And on Shavasa B'Tamuz, it's a day to talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in our own words. And reinforce our emunah in Hashem and our bitachon in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And not worry about the food. The whole fast becomes all about food. The whole point to have fast is to do tshuva. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to come back to Him. That's why we set up the fast days. We should come back and do tshuva. Not be thinking about the food. Do tshuva. Come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We should all be zeicha to do tshuva shalema. Mamish b'karev b'yameinu. Mamish do tshuva. And we should all be zeicha to see the coming of Mashiach that's going to come riding on the donkey. This same donkey that Bilam had that was killed, this is the same donkey that Mashiach is going to ride. Mashiach is going to ride this donkey that was Mekadesh Shem Shemayim. Can you imagine? A donkey was Mekadesh Shem Shemayim. Mashiach is going to come riding on this donkey. I was in Rome. I was looking by the gates to find Mashiach. Chazal tell us, the Gemara says that Mashiach is sitting at the gates of Rome and he's wrapping his bandages, whatever that means. And whenever there's war, he starts making his way towards Eretz Yisrael. So there was a war, so I wanted to see, maybe we could see Mashiach riding on his donkey. I didn't get to see him. But we will see him. We will see Mashiach Tzidkenu. Everyone, we should have a wonderful Shabbos, and again, have a meaningful fast with tshuva, b'sayris toivos, Yeshuas v'nechamas. Kol tov, everybody.